Hello, Praful. Thank you for joining me today. Let's talk about the potential of blockchain technology and how KoineArth is helping to innovate the building products and home improvement sector. Could you explain what this technology is all about?
See, at the heart of what blockchain is a very simple idea, which is a khata or a ledger or the red color notebook that every businessman has used for generations. You use it to maintain accounts, who owes who, how much. You use it to maintain orders. You use it to maintain inventory. You use it to maintain payment records. You use it to maintain employees' records, contractors, skilled laborers. Right? All these records are maintained in some sort of khatas or ledgers, or as they are called, databases today. Right? Now, what blockchain fundamentally is a new kind of a khata or a ledger technology. And that's why it's called a distributed ledger technology. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you think about it, as I said, each company is doing it on its own in Tally or Zoho or an ERP. The problem is that these systems don't really talk to each other, and each company maintains them independently. What blockchain enables you to do is to create a ledger which is shared among you and your business partners. And there are scenarios where this is a very powerful idea. You can have a shared ledger between 2 business partners, between 10 business partners, among 100 business partners, right? These could be private ledgers where only you and your business partners can view them, or you and a larger set of business partners can view them. And in some cases, you want to have a public ledger.
If we come to the building products and home improvement sector, traditionally, these businesses have been run on the linear distribution and retail chain model. And more lately, we have seen the emergence of the collaboration model where the customer, the interior designer, the material supplier, the contractor, and the skilled worker all come together and simultaneously take the project from concept to completion. So where do you see the use case for blockchain in these scenarios?
The first one is what I would call contractor or worker passports. Right? And instead of talking in abstract, let me give you an example. Right? We are working with a Korean company. They are a fleet operator, which means they run a fleet of electrical vehicles in multiple countries. Right? What we have done with them is we have enabled them to create a driver passport for every driver in their fleet. And what does the driver passport contain? It contains some basic identity information, driving records of the driver, which kind of give you an idea of the feedback that we different customers are giving about their driver. This driver passport can then also contain the number of trips that he or she takes in a day, the amount of work done, his working potential, his earning potential. And that data can, for example, now be viewed by a bank, which can then use this information to make loans to this particular driver. Right? I think in the Indian home improvement sector, the contractors, skilled workers, designers are free. A lot of them are freelancers and work on an ad hoc basis. And a passport like this has huge potential to transform their lives as well as formalize the sector. Right? Once you have a record which is trustable, which is verifiable, which is digital on the blockchain, and you have a passport for these contractors and skilled workers, which can be shared across the industry, right? That's where you start to build a record of how good this worker is, what is the kind of feedback that he has gotten, how much earning potential he has, what does he usually charge. And that starts to help the whole ecosystem. It helps the companies to kind of identify the top tier workers, the most skilled workers. It allows banks and NBFCs to lend to them based on their earning potential. It helps large anchors, product manufacturers build these networks where they can build these networks and deliver home improvement solutions. So I think that is one big theme that we see. Other than that, in the supply chain space, the distribution networks of large manufacturers are again very typically that we see in supply chains where each entity has their accounting system and ERP, but they don't really talk to each other. That's a more traditional use case for us, where we allow the creation of these digital supply chains with a few clicks. And that allows sharing of inventory between parties, the ability to share invoices from one party to another so that they can be paid early, and then using this invoices for bill discounting or invoice financing. Those use cases are of course well known and something that we have worked with multiple customers on efficiency. Again, let me give you a couple of examples, right? For if you are a large manufacturer of, let's say, paints, and you have visibility into the inventory of your distributor, and assuming that the distributor does want to share this inventory with you because it is his data, then you can do better planning. You can decide how much base stock levels that you need to hold in your inventory to satisfy future demand. You can do better demand forecasting, right? Another example is an invoice generated by one party or another party with one click can be shared with a bank or an NBFC, which can then finance that invoice, which means that you have the ability to induce capital into the supply chain.
Is there a possibility of increasing the visibility at the grassroots level, at the dealer level? Is there a possibility of connecting the dealer to the painter?
Now, this is where things get really interesting, right? Now, I'll say two things here. Now, the way we have designed the platform, our user interface is like a WhatsApp group philosophy, right? Where the idea is that if an anchor like a paint manufacturer forms a group on our platform, he can either add into the group only the distributor or only the dealers, or the distributors and the dealers together. And once those people join the group, then it is a group like a WhatsApp group, and companies can share inventory data with each other as they so prefer. Now, coming to the painter, now this is where it gets interesting. This goes back to the first question that we are asking. Very often the painters are contractors and freelancers. Right? The passport idea, as you correctly said, starts to collide or merge with this supply chain idea, because the last hop, which is the unorganized sector, till we give them an identity with a passport, you cannot really track them. So I think in the long run, the passports will start interacting with these systems so that you can trace the consumption at the contractor or the skilled worker level also, right? But I think the phases that I would do this, or if I was to imagine how this would play out, phase one would be passports, because I think that is where the bang for the buck will come. Very closely behind a phase two would be supply chain integration downstream from the manufacturer to the dealers or the distributor. And then slightly longish term, the integration of the two solutions, where you really have the full digitization of the supply chain from the manufacturer right down to the painter.
How is KoineArth making the application of blockchain technology smoother? And what solutions or products have you developed?
The first thing that we have said is no capex, right? So if you are coming onto our platform, we typically don't ask you to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars to buy a license. We use an OpEx only model, which is pay as you go, right? Which is basically a subscription model. The financial cost can be from few $100 for the smallest thing to a few $1,000s per month as the network size, as in the number of transactions increases. Second is our platform is ready to use. You can open a browser, and once you subscribe to the platform using a web browser like Chrome, you can start using the application from day one. Lastly, we understand that some of the large anchor customers will have an ERP. So we also have an API interface where our platform can integrate with their ERPs. We support ERPs like Oracle and SAP and Microsoft Dynamics for integration, so that the anchor can continue to use the ERP where the downstream system can use the UI. Right? So those are the things that we have done from usability and adoption and lowering the threshold perspective. Now, from a technology perspective, we have worked with design houses to make sure that the user interface hides the complexity of blockchain. In fact, on our UI or on our platform, you will not see the word blockchain ever appear. It looks like a group. You come on the platform, you create a group. Now, underneath the hood, that group is actually a private blockchain between multiple parties. But the application user doesn't need to know that. All they need is the benefit, business benefit.